Salute to all the Patreon members, all the subscribers, all the new viewers. I want to thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot to me. Please do me a favor. Hit the link in the description box below for the Patreon page. Check out the new videos on there. Hit the like button, share this video. Let's get into it. So, how to move in Thailand, part 8. This is getting a job, teaching. All right. Now, there's different avenues to go down when it comes to getting a job in Thailand. But most commonly, most people who want to stay in Thailand and experience the lifestyle of Thailand, they become a teacher. All right. And I'm going to say this in the beginning. I've done English teaching in Thailand. I think I taught for a total of 1 year, but it was split. So I taught for 6 months in 2019, and then I taught for 6 months in 2022. I'm going to tell you this right here. Teaching to me is not, teaching in Thailand is not the best avenue to go down to get the best outcome that you want out of Thailand. All right. I understand that people visit and they say, man, I don't want to leave this place. I don't really have a business of my own. You know, I'll just get an entry level job and figure it out later on. And most of the time, most people don't figure it out. They just stay as an English teacher. And I'm here to tell you that's not going to give you the best outcome that you're looking for from the country of Thailand. All right. Can you enjoy doing it? Yes. Can it be fun? Yes. But to do what this man is doing in this photo, and this is AI, by the way, but this is typically how a classroom looks. You're going to have a board, but most of the time it's going to be like a projector. So you'll pull down a projector and then you'll be at the computer and you'll have like a remote control and you'll just click through the slides. All right. Some schools, some companies might have a whiteboard. The ones I've seen, it was all through the computer on a projector. To do what this man is doing, let me tell you what it takes. So, teaching out of high school, most companies want you there from like 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. So 9 hours, 9 to 10 hours. And I say 10 hours because to fight through traffic, you're probably going to have to show up 20, 30 minutes earlier. All right. And to do this, be there 9 to 10 hours a day, you're only getting paid about $1,000 a month. It is not worth it. And what have I told you? Or did I mention that in this series? I think I did. I said to live comfortably in Thailand, you're going to have to make between, at minimum, $3,500 a month. You could get away with $3,000 a month, but you need $3,500 a month. $1,000 a month ain't going to cut it. All right. $1,000 isn't going to cut it. You just there. You just there window shopping. You can't even buy good appliances for your apartment. You can't even get good furniture for your apartment. Even though most apartments that you get that people rent out in Thailand, most of the time the apartment already comes with furniture. Right? But to buy good appliances, entertainment, food, excuse me, to travel during the breaks, you won't be able to move like that only making $1,000 a month. All right. I mean, even if you make more, you still have to budget, right? But if you make more, even though you got a budget, you can still, use some of that money. Like, okay, this is for my fun and entertainment. You'll barely be able to dip into that stash with $1,000 a month. All right, because well, let me start from the beginning, and then I'll get to that point. A work permit, if you're out the country, um, you got to email some documents, some paperwork over, just like the student visa. Uh, they're gonna email you instructions. There's somebody in the immigration department that you have to talk to. They're gonna ask for some documents or whatever. You get it over to them, let them do their thing. They're gonna give you paperwork, and stuff is gonna be in English. Stuff is gonna be in Thailand. I mean, stuff is gonna be in Thai. All right. You got to enter into the country on a tourist visa. Then you got to extend that. So 2 months, extend it to a 90 days, get another 30-day stamp. Then towards the end of the 90-day stamp, they're going to tell you to go to Laos to get a non-B visa. That non-B visa, I think that will grant you. Let me do a quick Google. How long is a non-B visa Thailand? Yeah, non-B visa is valid for 3 months. Okay, while multiple entry ones can be 6 months or longer. Okay, so within 3 months, you get a non-B visa. It lasts for 3 months. Then you can get that extended, so it'll be 4 months. All right. So on a tourist visa, 3 months, 3 + 4, 7. They might have to. I've heard of some people getting a 6-month visa for a non-B visa. All right. Um, for me, it took about 9 months to get a work permit. All right. It takes a while. And within that process of you getting your work permit, from going to a tourist visa, non-B visa to a work permit, you're gonna have to travel outside of the country. You're gonna have to go to the immigration office to extend visas. Then for the non-B, you got to go to Laos. That's a process. You got to use your own money to go over there. So the money that you're making, that $1,000 a month that you're making, you got to budget that to even go to Laos. They're gonna tell you like, hey, your tourist visa is coming to an end. So you got at some point in time, you're gonna have to go to Laos and get a non-B visa. This is how you do it. This is the process. This is all the paperwork. Go. And some people might say, like, hey, y'all gonna give me money to do this? And the company's gonna tell you, no. You use your money to go up there. You know, you don't have to book a flight over there. If you got the money for it, you can, but take the bus. There's a bus that'll take you all the way up to Laos. I forgot how much it costs. Then you got to book a room to stay for like 2 nights, right? You got to stand in this long line, and there's other people there coming in from Thailand to process your passport and your paperwork. All right. And then you got to pay, it's like a couple thousand baht to get your non-B visa. All right. Then you got to pay for the bus to come back. And it all comes out of your pocket. So you best have some money saved up and stashed away to get a non-B visa. All right. And you got to pay for it. So, and I wasn't, I was grinding heavy. All right. I wasn't making $1,000 a month. I wasn't going to stay in Thailand for $1,000 a month. I was making like 4 grand a month in Thailand. Right. So check this. The first school that I went to was in, what was it, Kankoy? Let me see. Yeah. I was in Kankoy in Sadaburi or Sadaburi. All right. I know I'm mispronouncing it. That's like an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Bangkok. I stayed there for like half a semester because I came in late. Um, I started late in this semester. I started right when they, like, every school they have what's called sports week. I didn't start teaching in Kankoy until their sports week. And I think that was like the second semester. And here's the thing, some people will say just because they're thirsty and desperate to get over to Thailand, is like, oh, I just got to stay there. I got to find a way to stay there, and then I'll figure it out. They'll go through a company, and the company will say, well, we don't have anything available in Bangkok right now. Or they might say, we don't have anything available in Chiang Mai or Bangkok. So you're going to have to stay, you're going to have to go to one of our different provinces or different locations, and, you know, and you're gonna have to teach there. They have an opening over there. And some people who are desperate and thirsty, they're gonna say, "Oh, it don't matter. It don't matter. I'll go just as long as I'm in Thailand. I'll go. You know, on the weekends, I'll book a bus or a plane to get over to Bangkok. Oh, not a big deal. The flights are cheap. I could do it. Right? A lot of people will say this. Soon as they get to Thailand and they're booked way in the middle of nowhere out of school, they're trying to get up out of there. They don't like it. There's nothing about that town that they like. They can't even believe that there's people who actually live the way they do in some of these towns in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing fun about living in some of these towns out in the middle of nowhere. All right. Now, luckily, the first gig that I had already been living in Thailand for like 3.5 years. I'd already been living in Bangkok for like 3.5 years, right? So I said I want to be as close to Bangkok as possible. They said we don't have anything in Bangkok right now, but we got something in Kankoy. I'm like, how far is Kankoy? They said about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Bangkok. I'm like, okay. So I get over there and they tell me how to get to Kankoy. I found out from there's a van you could take from Rangsit. Rangsit is the north side of Bangkok. All right. Rangsit, there's a mall there called Future Park Mall. It's a very popular mall. Um, that area is popular. Future Park Mall. There's Future Park Mall. There's Bangkok University. Um, there's a bunch of shops and stores in the area, a bunch of restaurants in the area and stuff like that. So Rangsit was like the getaway for me. All right. So Rangsit, you take a van from Rangsit to Kankoy. It was like an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half every single time. The town of Kankoy, to get to my apartment, you used to have to, so you could take a bus or you could take a van. The van is the quickest way to get directly to my school and my apartment where I was at in Kankoy. The other way is you take a bus from um right next to Dong Muang Airport. You take a bus from Dong Muang Airport all the way up to Kankoy, and then you could take a tuk tuk or a taxi directly to the school, the Kankoy school, the high school, right? Now, in order to get back to that bus station in Kankoy, there was you could take the van back to Rangsit, or you could take the bot bus to get over to the major bus station that would take you to the airport. Man, in order to like the bus that rolls through town next to that high school, it just showed up whenever it felt like. There was no set time, no set schedule. So sometimes you're gonna have to be waiting an hour and a half. So if you're pressed for time, good luck. And then when that bus would pull up, it wasn't like people would get on the bus and then you just go. That bus would sit there until it filled up with people. Then it would leave to go over to the big bus station that would take you to Bangkok. And guess what? That ride from the high school to the bus station, that shit was driving slow as hell, 15, 20 miles an hour. So it would take forever just to get to the bus station in the same town. So, anyways, my first experience in this little town, right? Um, what they do is they tell you about the town. They give you a little brochure. The company will give you a little brochure and introduce you everything about Thailand, tell you about Thailand, right? And then the town that you're living in, and it'll say, hey, your best bet is to choose one of these different apartment complexes right here, or you can find your own housing. And so I choose this one apartment. I choose this one condo. And the condo, it's okay, but there's a huge like mosquito problem in this condo, right? And they have a different set of rules in some of in some of the outskirts, right? When it comes to the electrical company with your condo. So in Bangkok, Bangkok, you had, let's say, like one of the major condominium buildings, one of the major chains, it was called IDO. Everybody knows what IDO is in Bangkok. There's a bunch of IDO condo buildings all around the city, right? Each condo within the building is privately owned by an owner. And so, but the building itself, the electric the utilities is ran by the city's electrical company. Does that make sense? So each building had a set rate as to how much you were going to pay in electricity per gigawatt or whatever it's measured by, per gigawatt that you use in your condo. So let's say you got the fan running 16 hours a day, 8 hours a day, you either at school, you at work. Typically 16 hours a day times 30, you're probably going to pay anywhere between 800 baht to 1100 baht at that time. And that's only like $35 added on to your utilities bill every single month. Where I was at in Kankoi, the building itself was privately owned, right? It wasn't like the entire building was privately owned. So they could set their price on a they could set their price on their utilities rate per gigawatt the way they felt, or per kilowatt, whatever the measurement is called. They could set it at their own price. So I remember the first time the first month, I'm using it as if you know I'm running the fan, the air conditioner, the same amount of hours as I used it back in Bangkok. Well, here's the thing. My rent at this condo in Kankoi, I believe it was like 7,000 baht, right? It was like 7,000 baht per month. but the utilities bill that I got, it was just as much as the rent for that condo. The utilities bill was like 6, 7,000 baht, 7,000 baht a month, 5,000 baht a month. I'm like, what the hell? Right? So you get a cheaper rate per month on the apartment, but you're still paying Bangkok price. So an apartment in Bangkok, let's say it's 30 square meters. You're in Hue Kwong. I remember paying like 14,000 baht per month for an apartment, but my utilities bill was only 1,000 baht per month. Whereas like in Ken Koi, the rent was like 7,000 baht, but the way I was using my air conditioner, it was almost like I was paying the same as if I was living in Bangkok. You get what I'm saying? So they um they promote a cheaper rent, a cheaper rate because you're way, way, way outside in the outskirts, far from the city, but you're still paying city prices if you use your air conditioner the same way you use it back home or in Bangkok, right? Running your fans 16 hours a day, 14 hours a day. And I'm like, what the hell? So I remember there was a coworker that I had. He was Japanese. He was teaching a Japanese class at that school. And dude, like, I remember he was standing next to me waiting to pay his bill because you paid the bill downstairs. I'm like, dude, how much is your utilities bill? His utilities bill was like 600 baht a month, 800 baht a month. I'm like, what the hell? Like 600 baht a month, 500 baht a month. My shit is 7,000 baht a month, 7,000 baht for your utilities bill to be 500 baht a month. That means when you get off work, you in the dark. You lighting candles at night, and you're not turning on the air conditioner, and you can't open the window. You'll get swarmed with mosquitoes if you open up a window in Kankoi. And like our apartment, it was on a main strip, so you had people with riding scooters with no mufflers, so it was loud as hell all day and all night. People driving past, flying at a million miles per hour on a scooter. I remember one time somebody was riding so fast they got into an accident right in front of my window, making a whole lot of noise. Right, ambulance had to show up, everything, and I'm like, so you couldn't open up the windows, mosquitoes would come in. Mosquitoes made its way inside of your room, even if you did have the windows closed. So I was like, man, I guess I'm paying Bangkok prices to live out here. The school that I went to that I taught at, the school was like right across the street, right? Um, the office was raggedy as hell. It's all government funded. They didn't get enough money to be able to have decent desks and to have a decent office for the staff and the teachers, at their school. Everything was old as hell. You can look at the desk at that office. It was Kankoi High School. I remember going up in that teacher's lounge because Thais and foreigners shared the same room. And I remember that desk, the desks there, they looked like they was built in the 50s. That's how old the desks look, right? And there's a lot of office politics. Sometimes a lot of drama. And that wasn't even the most dramatic school that I taught at. The second school I taught at had a lot of drama there, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute. But at that school, they always have like a head teacher when you teach. Our head teacher, he was from the UK, right? Tall, skinny white guy, had the cul-de-sac bald head look, right? Didn't want to shave off the sides of the back, whatever. He had that look. He had a Thai wife, and I believe he had a daughter that went to school. I believe she went to the same high school. Actually, no, no. His daughter was young. She wasn't in high school yet, right? But he was married. That's what kept him there, his family. But he was like an older guy. I forgot how old he was, but um he was probably in his 50s, right? Mid 50s. Sometimes he was cool, but sometimes he would get in people's faces. And like I'm the type of guy, man, if you get in my face, I'm not gonna back down. We just gonna fight, right? We gonna take it there because I'm not backing down. You're not gonna punk me, right? But he didn't get in my face, but I seen him get into other people's faces. And I'm not saying that they didn't deserve um to be called out or talked to in a stern manner, but to get up and get in somebody's face as if he was gonna fight is like, you might have the heart, but you ain't built like that. You know what I'm saying? If you were to look at him, you'd be like, hey man, he's the one getting in people's faces. It's like, yeah. And so you're always gonna have a headmaster, or not a headmaster, a head teacher. Headmasters are the principals, but head teacher, they teach classes, and then you have however many teachers they need depending on the size of the school. Okay. I will say this: at that first school I went to, the head teacher there, the British guy I was talking about, he was fair. All right, because in high school the grades go from M1 to M6. Okay, M1s, M2, M3, M4, M5, M6. Okay, M6 there's 17, right? M1s, I believe what they're like 12, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So yeah, M1s they're 12. So high school starts at 12 in Thailand. M1s are 12s, M2s are 13, M3s are 14, M4s are 15, M5s are 16, M6s are 17. Okay. So how he had it split was this in Thailand. I know I'm kind of long-winded, but in Thailand, it's optional to go to school after M3. So it's mandatory to go to school up to M3, right? Once you complete M3, you could drop out if you want to. All right. So M4s, M5s, M6s, they actually want to be there and finish school, or they're probably being forced to be there by their parents, right? But for kids who are struggling, the families are struggling. They need their kids to come out of high school as soon as possible so that they can help with the family business or start working so that they can bring in more money into the household. Hey, let's get him working at 14, 15 years old to help out the family. That's why they make M4, M5, M6 optional. So it's mandatory to go to school up until M3. All right. So what does that mean? All the kids, this is important. Hold on. Okay. Uh, all right. My bad. I had to answer that. I had to answer that. I should have had my phone on airplane mode. Okay. I should have had my phone on airplane mode. I apologize. So, what does that mean? If kids in high school, M1, M2, M3, have to be there, then typically most people will look at that group of kids as the more difficult to deal with. Okay. M1, M2, M3, the younger, more energetic, more talkative, more rambunctious, right? So These are your harder classes. Whereas like M4, M5, and M6, these students, especially in a town like Kencoy, they want to be there. They want to learn English, right? They want to continue their studies. So they're more well behaved. They're paying attention. They're more well behaved, right? So how the head teacher split it up was this. Okay, you're gonna have one class that's either M1, M2, M3, and then you're gonna have one class that's M4, M5, M6 to make it even for everybody. You understand? So somebody's gonna have how he split it up was like one guy would have M1 and M6. Okay. Then another guy would have M2 and M5s. Then somebody else would have M3 and M4s. I had M3 and M4s. Okay. My M3s were off the chain. All right. My M3s were, they would fight in class. I've had students fight in class. I've had to kick out students. I've had students show up very, very late. I've had students yell, scream, throw stuff at each other in class, um, just yelling and screaming and talking out loud while I'm teaching. It's not, they're not even whispering. They just yelling and screaming, talking loud as if they're outside in my class. So it's very difficult to control or maintain the order in an M1, M2, M3 class, right? But when I had my M4s, it was night and day. Being in Kankor in the middle of nowhere, you're gonna see this in Thailand if you haven't seen it already. In Bangkok, you see dogs roaming around, right? And these dogs, they usually hang out next to a food truck, somebody with a food truck, and sometimes they'll try to feed them food, but the the dogs next to these food trucks in Bangkok, they're reluctantly they eat the food that's given to them by the person who owns the food truck because they got to survive. But the quality of the food that's given to them is so garbage. It's like they don't have hair, they got open wounds, scabs, right? They look depressed, you know, fleas. They'll lay out in the middle of the street during rush hour while everybody's walking. People just walk around him. I feel sorry for these dogs out in Thailand, right? You got those same kind of dogs out in Kankoi where I was staying at. So sometimes these dogs will show up on campus and just walk in the classroom. So you got a dog bloody, no hair, open scab, open wounds, walking straight into the classroom just like this. And everybody's just acting like, oh, okay, no big deal. It's just, the dog from outside coming in here. I'm like, hey, man, go get him out of here. Hey, I'm clapping my hands because I don't want to touch the dog. I'm like, go, scram, get out of here. Shoo, leave. The dog's so tired, right? Because where I was at, I was on the third floor. Where the language center was at, it was on the third or fourth floor. So the dog had to climb up like 8 flights of steps, 6 flights of steps just to get on the floor to even walk in the classroom. So by the time it gets up there, he tired. I'm like, hey man, one of you, hey, help me get this dog out the classroom. And then like, teacher, what's wrong? What's wrong? I'm like, hey man, get the dog out the class. So I would have to get the dog out, shut the door, right? And then continue. Now, at these schools, well, at that school, they didn't really have air conditioners. So they had a fan, and then you had to open the window just like this. So it could circulate the hot ass air inside the classroom. I'm sweating, right? You got to dress just like this, more like, or in a white shirt, pants with a tie, sweating with some hard bottoms on, sweating while you teaching English, and your M3s acting a fool in the classroom. All right. So you got M3s acting a fool in the classroom. You got stray dogs covered in fleas and blood and open wounds with no hair walking in the classroom. Then you go back to the teachers' lounge. There's drama amongst the teachers, right? They can't get along because they're bored. There's no entertainment. There's nothing to do in town. So their form of entertainment is just starting shit with each other. So, and then on top of that, same thing. You got to pass every student along. So no matter how bad the kids are, no matter how much they fail, no matter if they showed up all semester or not, you still have to pass them along at the end of the semester. So you can't threaten nobody with, all right, man, if you want to act up, cool, it's your grade, you're going to fail. It's like, no, they're not, right? You're going to have to pass them along. Don't worry about their kid. It's a government funded school, public school. So you can't contact nobody's parents. Somebody act bad in your class, you can't contact their parents. You can't. Even if you go up to the front of the school and talk with staff or whatever, you talk to somebody like, hey man, I want to contact this person's parents and let them know how they're acting in the class. They're gonna tell you, nah, we'll do it, and they never will. Right? They acting a damn fool. They fighting. They punching each other. Big ass brawl going on in the middle of the classroom. They're trying to raise their voice at you. You call somebody from the office to come in here and deal with them. And now, what are they doing? What are they doing? When the Thai teacher comes in to look inside the classroom, they all behaved. They're not doing anything. They're not talking. They're sitting straight. They're quiet. It's day and night. And then when you tell them, hey, don't believe that, don't believe them, don't believe this act that they're pulling off right now. Nah, they was acting a fool before you got in here. All right. They was cutting up before you got in here. All right. This one right here in particular, get him out of here. The Thai teacher is taking it very, very light, laughing, joking, giggling with the student. Is everything okay? Okay. Can you behave? Yeah. Okay, teacher, continue. No, get him the fuck out of here. Teacher, teacher, no, 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 continue. No, everything good now. Okay. Okay now. No, everything's not okay. It's not okay. Get him out of here. You don't know what I've been dealing with the whole time. Then here's the thing: when your class ends and then you have free time and you roam around, if you roam around campus, you'll walk past some of these classes and you'll see, okay, damn, this is my class. This is my worst class here. And in this room, they got a Thai teacher. So when you look in, it's like, oh, this is my class right here. But the teacher's Thai, everybody's quiet, they're well behaved. They're not yelling, they're not screaming. So they act the fool and they cut up when it's a foreign teacher. You like the permanent substitute teacher. You the goofy that everybody can act a fool on when you're the teacher at school. And all they paying you is $1,000 a month. All right. So so M4 at that school, they were good, they were well behaved, they were cool. Um, I had didn't really have any issues with M4s, right? So I was trying to get up out of that school. How did I get up out of that school? Sometimes if you have people that are sick or they got to handle immigration stuff, paperwork in Bangkok, or they got to go to Laos, you know, what they'll do is they'll send somebody from the office over to your school to fill in for their classes as a substitute, right? So there was a guy from the office. He was British. Me and him would talk, right? We would speak, and I would tell him like, "Hey, I'm hoping to have an open position available somewhere in Bangkok so I can get up out of here." And he ended up taking a liking to me. He was just like, "Man, you're a great teacher. You deserve more than this. So I'm gonna make sure I put in a word to get you to go to a school in Bangkok." And he did. And I ended up going to Bangkok. And I was like, "Man, thank you. I appreciate it." He was like, "No, thank you. Like you deserve it." So, but before I could go over to Bangkok, which really Rangsit, which is the north side of Bangkok, I used to go to Rangsit on the weekends, right? Sometimes I would come back right away, or sometimes I would book a hotel in Rangsit and I would stay there for the weekend. Hotels were like $20 a night, real nice hotels in the cut. And I would go to Rangsit, I would go to Future Park Mall, I would, you know, go to the movies. See, Future Park Mall, let me show you Future Park Mall. All right. This was like my getaway. This was like my getaway right here. Okay. So I would leave Kankoi in a van. I would take the van to Rangsit. It was like an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half. It would only cost like 200 baht. So that's like $6. It would cost $6 to go to Rangsit and 200 baht to go back. But if I was very impatient, I would just book an Uber back to Kankoi, and that would cost like $20, $30, right? If I didn't feel like waiting for the van. This is Future Park Mall. It looks nicer than what it really is on the outside because it's all Photoshop. Okay. Um Actually, this is Photoshop. There's no skyline. Bangkok isn't this close next to Future Park Mall. There ain't a bunch of buildings, and this is all Photoshop right here. That's not how the backdrop of Future Park look like. There's nothing behind Future Park. All right. Is it the nicest mall in Thailand? No, but it still has its good and its bad. It still has, different entertainment. They got an ice skating rink in here. They got different restaurants you can eat at. Um, they got a basketball court in there. I think there's a gym inside. A lot of people hang out at Future Park Mall, right? So on the weekends when I was in Kenko, yeah, I used to take my motorbike over at this mechanic spot right outside of the mall. And I used to get oil changes and stuff like that on my motorbike. I had an X Max, a Yamaha X Max. I used to take it right to this mechanic shop. They're good people over there. And um, you know, whenever I would buy new Nintendo Switch games, they got like a little video game store that had everything, all the consoles, all the games there. They were cool. This lady and her son ran the spot. They were very nice. They would text me if anything new came in, like, "Hey, I don't have this right now, but give me your line account and I'll get it to you, right? And I'll message you and I'll hold it for you, and I'll tell you when it's available." They got Bonchon chicken in Future Park Mall. So Bonchon, that's that's like that's one of them restaurants. It's a Korean restaurant, like a Korean fried chicken restaurant, but on the weekends it stays busy, right? If you plan on going to Bonchon on the weekend and sitting down, dining in to eat, forget about it. Forget about it. And on the weekday, after rush hour, whatever, it's packed. So they got different restaurants. They got Robinson. Robinson, that's where I will buy, a little, I'll buy drawers and belts and socks at Robinson. Um, let's see what else they got. This is another view. Another thing about Future Park, this is another thing that I want to point out. Future Park is a great mall to where, like, let's say you are teaching English and you're like, hey, I want to start a business. I want to be able to put stuff up on Amazon or start my own website to sell uh, s- stuffed animals, toys, right? So look at Labubu. Labubu is like very popular in America. It's very expensive. They got toys, not exactly Labubu, but they got different stores in Future Park Mall. I did a whole live stream about this years ago, on this channel. And I'm like, damn, I used to walk past this little stuffed animal shop, right? They had big stuffed animals, they had action figures, everything. I'm like, man, if somebody had this set up nice on the internet, they could make bank if they can market and target an audience in America who loves this type of stuff right here, this niche right here. If they can market it and target their audience in a certain kind of way, they can make pretty good money. But yeah, this is a little I no, this isn't in Future Park Mall. I've never seen that. Right. The basketball court is in this area. And there's a grocery store downstairs, right? These are a lot of the stores there, taxis. Um, oh, they redid the movie theater. Actually, no, they didn't. This was back in 2022. I was there in 2022, so that's how it looked on the top. Uh, right. So it was a cool little mall. Was it um was it like Icon Siam or Siam Paragon? No, but it's a cool spot to hang out at, compared to Ken Koi. You understand? So let me put it back on this screen right here. It was a cool little spot to hang out on the weekends or get away, on the weekends better than Ken Koi because there was nothing in Ken Koi. So, anyways, I used to go there and meet up with different girls and stuff like that. You know, work Monday through Friday. Friday evening, I would take the van to go to Ken Koi or to go to Rangsit. I tell a girl like, hey, she had the weekends off or whatever. I would send her the link and I was sending Uber her way to come to where I was at a hotel where I was staying at in Rangsit. She would stay in my hotel. We would hang out at Future Park Mall Friday night, Saturday, then Sunday night. I would send her back home. Then I would go to Kankoi. All right, that was my weekend for about 4 months living in Kankoi. The guy put in a good word for me. Then he sent me over to Rangsit. All right, to the high school over there. I'm not gonna say the name. Much bigger school. It was a little bit more decent, right? Um, it was decent, but there was a lot of drama in at that school. So I ended up booking I ended up renting I ended up getting a condo in Cave Condo. All right, let me see if they got photos here. Okay. I'm gonna show you this. So after you put in a good word and they sent me over to Rungsit, I'm like, okay, that's a good area. I'm very familiar with Rungsit. I go to Future Park all the time. I ended up finding out about Cave Condo. All right. And this condo is right across the street from Bangkok University. All right. This is what April 2019. I was there in 2019. I was staying here in April 2019. So it was a decent condo, but it was struggle right next door, right? Um, you had different homes or whatever. I don't know if one owner and a family stayed there or if it was shared housing. It was all spread out. Then there was an empty lot next door, and sometimes there would be cattle just roaming around in the empty lot. But the building itself, it was cool. June 19th, 2019, I was there. I think it opened in 2019. And I noticed after living there, because I stayed in Cave for I stayed in Cave from I think March to October. From either March to October or April to October. I noticed by the time June or July came around, I'm like, this condominium is looking run down now, right? It was starting to look run down, but this is where I lived at. I was paying like 15 a month. I had a 2 bedroom, right? Mine was a setup like this. It didn't look like this, but yeah, mine did have a washer. It was a washer and a dryer all in one in the kitchen, right? Underneath the sink. This is exactly how it looked. All right. Uh, so my second bedroom looked exactly like this, but I used it as a computer room. I had my computer set up and everything in there. I had a gaming desk. I had my gaming PC in there. I had a whole bunch of lights on the wall. And I told the owner, like, hey, take this bed out. I'm gonna put a desk in here. And they did. And so this is exactly how it looked, right? This is exactly how my setup was. The If you were to turn this camera around, the living room was behind the camera, right? And this was my second bedroom. And yes, the balcony was connected. Everything is a sliding door. It's not a regular door, it's a sliding door, right? That's probably one of the rooms inside. This how the shower looked, but my shower was bigger than this because I guess I had a 2 bedroom. All right. Um, all these pictures from 2019, right when it opened. Yeah, they don't have any updated photos. I wonder why. All these pictures are from 2018, 2019, right? Yeah, that's how the roof looked like. The rooftop looked just like this. You could hang out at the rooftop. They had like a little study area in one of these buildings. They had a pool up here. They had another building where it was like a study room, and then there was like a foosball room. Then there was a pool table room, right? So this was by the high school I was staying at. I was spending a lot of money. So I was living here. I was living here Oh, where's this? This is what a one bedroom looked like. The one bedroom was a little bit too small for me, so I said no. But I'm pretty sure this was like this had to have been like 8 or 9,000 baht for this, right? So I was living in an apartment, 2 bedroom, and paying 15. I was paying like 15 grand, 15,000 baht a month. So like $450 a month, right? Then on top of that, I used to take a bus to Future Park Mall, and then I would get on a van, and then the van would take us to a 7-Eleven, and from there, a motorbike would take us to the school. And I'm like, man, that takes way too much time. I don't want to be on the back of a motorbike on my way to school. And it's like I have to leave earlier just to make it on time. So from then on, I just took taxis to school every single day. I took taxis to school every single day. So with where I was living, it was costing me in total probably like 20, maybe 21, 22,000 baht a month living here and taking taxis to the school, right? Because I didn't want to go the other route. It took too long. So can you do all that on a 30,000 baht, a 33,000 baht monthly salary? No, no, you can't. This is why I say, man, you better have more than one stream of income if you plan on teaching in Thailand. Because if teaching is your only stream of income, you pretty much gonna be living on below the poverty level. Trust me, it's not worth it. It's not worth Thailand is not worth m- moving here. Well, I'm not there, but moving to Thailand, only making $1,000 a month, it's not worth it, right? I don't advise you to teach English. I don't advise you to teach English and have only one stream of income in Thailand. You want to come to Thailand, man, be a student, be an entrepreneur, right? Be a content creator. Don't come through Thailand being a teacher, all right? Unless they're giving you a principal position. If they say, hey, we'll hire you to be a principal, then show up to Thailand because they'll pay you pretty good money, right? A principal, not even a principal. See, you can't be a principal at a government school. You could be a dean at an international university, or you could be a principal at an international school. That's when you come over to work in Thailand. That if that in the realm of education in school, in the industry of education, school, only come to Thailand to be a principal or a dean. Don't come to be an English teacher. I promise you're not gonna like it. And it's not worth it. The pay isn't worth it. Anyways, I get over to that second school in Rangsit. Life is much better. The weekend at night, I'm going to Future Park Mall. Remember, the malls in Thailand is the center of everything. Everything is at the mall. The banks, the gym, right? Uh the boxing gym, the Muay Thai fighting gym, the movie theater, the basketball court, the ice skating rink, right? The internet cafe, anything you could think of, it's all at the mall. The mechanic shop is at the mall. I just showed you that. Everything is at the mall. You don't have to leave the mall for nothing. Food court, grocery store, everything is there. So When I get off work, I go to the mall and hang out. All right. This is what I tell you. This is what I said in like part two. When it comes to accommodation, you want to position yourself next to a mall that you like, a good one. Now, Rongsit, the town of Rongsit is not that big, so Cave County was right up the street from Future Park Mall. Sometimes I used to walk to Future Park. All right. You could take a motorbike taxi, a bus, a regular taxi, Uber, very quick to get to the mall over there. All right. But here's the thing, at that school in Future, at that school in Rongsit, um, man, it was a lot of drama. There's more teachers because there's two different, some schools they'll have two different companies, two different foreign English teaching companies in one school, right? And you're both in the same office. So it's double the teachers, double the drama because you're interacting and mingling with the other teachers as well. You got to deal with their personalities also. You know, so people clash and you're clashing like this. You're only making $1,000 a month at this school that I told you previously in a different stream. This was the same school where a brother met his wife at that school, and because he chose the Filipina teacher instead of this black woman that worked there, the black woman put out rumors about him that he was gay, and he flipped out and called out. It wasn't our company; it was the other company. He called out his coworkers in that office in front of everybody out loud. Right. So Thai staff is there. Sometimes there's students there. Our company's there. I wasn't there that day, but he called everybody out loud. It was like, hey man, if anybody got a problem with me making up rumors about me, say it right now to my face while we here. Right. You dealing with that level of drama at that school, like, and you're only making a grand a month, it is not worth it. It's not worth it. Then on top of that, some people, you know, some people like, let me tell you, the head teacher at that school I was teaching at, I'm not going to say the name of the company. I'm not going to say the name of the school, but some people are so bored, they just make up little, they start drama because it excites them. You know, it's almost like it's turning them on because it's the same mundane thing day in and day out for years, right? At that school, this one, the head teacher there, she was Thai, but she was raised in Australia, right? You know, and this is why I say in Cancun, the head teacher there, I respected him because he made it fair. He's like, okay, no, you're gonna get one of the M1 to M3 classes, and you're gonna get an M4 to M6 class to balance it out. This teacher here, she had it set up to where now one group of teachers, y'all gonna get M1 to M2, then M2 to M3, the M3 to M4, the M4 to M5, and M5 to M6. And long behold, she's the head teacher, so she get M6s and M5s. Right? Everybody's older, they're well behaved, they want to be there. So she doesn't really have to deal with students. That's how she set it up. I'm like, why the hell you got to set up like this? And then you got the M6s and M5s. Why don't you teach M1s and M2s? Why isn't it split from M1, M6, M2, M5, M3, M4? One badass class, one good class, good group of students who want to actually be there. That's how she set it up, right? And I'm not going to go in detail as to all the drama that this woman was causing at this school because I mean this video's gone on long enough. But because I worked with her twice. I worked with her in 2019, I worked with her in 2022. Both times I told her, "Hey, look, all right, seems like there's some confusion and you're bringing a lot of bullshit to me that is not in the contract and I'm pretty sure that's not how things are done. And I don't think the head office is aware of this. So what I would like to do, I would like to set up a meeting between me, you, and what's his name in the head office so we can make sure what your duties are and my duties are. Because it sounds like you're trying to make me some do boy that's supposed to, follow you everywhere and tap in with you every single day when that's not what you did in 2019, but you want to do this in 2022. So since there's some seems to be some confusion about our duties or whatever, I'm gonna set up a meeting and I'm gonna send an email up to this guy in the head office and we can have this meeting and yada yada yada. She was like, "Oh no, that's not necessary." No, it is necessary because feels like it feels like you're on some bullshit this time around. So let's do that. She goes, "Oh, okay, well, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do this, that, and the third anymore." And yeah, and I told her, "Oh, okay, yeah, I thought so. I thought so." What was she trying to do? The second time around, she was trying to get me to. She was like, um, "What was she trying to do?" She was telling me like this guy over here because he was brand new to teaching. At that moment in time, I had already been teaching like 8 years, right, off and on. He was like, he always comes to me to ask me questions and ask me, am I doing things right? Asking me for advice and this and that third. How come you don't do that? Like, I don't need to do that. This is his first year doing this. This ain't my first year doing this. This is like my 8th year doing this. I don't need help and advice from you. like, I want you to do that. Well, I'm like, well, I'm not. I didn't do that in 2019. I'm not doing it now. Right. So she's supposed to like every once in a while, the head teacher's supposed to sit in your class and evaluate. There's supposed to be evaluations like once or twice a semester. And the head teacher's supposed to do that. She wouldn't do that. So she was like, yada, 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 you know, it ain't my job to be doing this, that, and the third. I forgot what it was about, but it has something to do with what she was supposed to do. And she's telling me it's not her job. I'm like, well, whose job is it? You the head teacher. If it ain't your job, why don't you step down and let somebody else be the head teacher position and get that salary since it ain't your job, right? Being slick. And she knew what she was doing. She was just trying to cause a riff because she was bored. And until you check her and until you say, well, I'll send an email to the front to see what your job is since you're confused as to what your job is. Oh, no, 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 no. You don't have to do that. Okay, shut up and leave me alone. And that's what she did. Shut up and leave me alone. Right. So um then there was this Irish dude there. He was new. It was his first year. Um he was kind of an emotional guy. Right. He was very I don't know the word to explain it, right? He was doing a little bit too much, very, very talkative, telling too much about himself, right? Um, he was very emotional also. Like he was sometimes he would get moody And so he seemed to have he was kind of like the golden boy because all the other golden boy left. Right. So he came in and he ended up being the golden boy, just young, impressionable mind, just, you know, trying to make friends with everybody, didn't really know how, just new to a lot in Thailand, especially there. I'm trying to hang out in my cave in the classroom, shut my door, not be bothered, you know, go through my phone when I don't have classes and then stay in the classroom when I do have classes. Right. He was the opposite. He wanted to hang out with everybody, talk to everybody, make friends with everybody. But then, you know, some of the slightest things that bothered him, he didn't want to talk to you no more or whatever. Right. So I'm like, I don't care. I didn't come here to make friends or whatever at work. Right. Because you got to slow yourself down and pace yourself. You got to give yourself time to get a feel of the environment first before you just think everybody's your friend. Everybody's not your friend, right? So he's friends with the head teacher. He's friends with all the other teachers or whatever. So he thinks he is. And one of these nights when they all go out eating, right? They all have dinner with each other. I didn't do that stuff, right? I went to a company dinner one time, well, twice. Both of them were very uncomfortable, but that was in Taiwan. That's another video. Both of them were very uncomfortable. And I damn sure wasn't going to do that in Thailand, right? There are some company, it wasn't even company, it wasn't even like set up through the company saying like, hey, head teachers need to schedule a company dinner and, you know, go to this restaurant, all the expenses are paid for on our tab, enjoy. That's not how it was. They was just hanging out as friends, so they thought they were. And I remember one night they was like, "Oh, let's all go to this restaurant and hang out." I'm like, "No, I'm busy." Right? So the Irish guy, the head teacher, this other Indian girl who was very cute, um, and then like two other people, they went to this restaurant. And to make a long story short, the Irish guy and the girl who was Indian, they were so-called best friends at the school, but then that night they got into some, from what I heard, they started arguing with each other, got into some shouting match. 9 times out of 10, it's over nothing. They got into some shouting match, and instead of the head teacher playing neutral, the head teacher, who respectfully, she was LBGT, right? She sided with the girl. She sided with the Indian girl. Why? Because she found her attractive. The head teacher was always hanging out with that Indian girl because she was cute, right? So because of that, then the Irish guy the next day didn't come into work. He quit and left. And I was told about this, and I was like, well, shit, like he got blonde hair and blue eyes. He shouldn't have been here in the first place, right? He could be a principal at an international school. He didn't have to work here, right? He was here way too long, right? Blonde hair, blue eyes. Be a dean at a university. Be a principal at an international school and get the bag. Like, what was he doing here? Because that's just how it is in Asia, especially Thailand. So, so the office politics at these schools, they're they're like, and then people with these personalities, they're insane. All right. The people who are very moody, very emotional, whiny. There was one guy, he was having like inappropriate interactions with some of the students, right? It was like he was getting a little bit too friendly talking to some of the girls at the school, and it was becoming a concern, and trying to invite them out outside of work and school. Eh, so then he got ran out of that school. Um, there was another girl, and I've told this story once. She started going off because we're near the door. Me and the Irish guy, we're near the door, but we're having like a deep conversation. Not that close. We wasn't walking through the door. We're not too far from the door, but not close enough to reach for the door. Like we wasn't going in. And so this girl coming out of the doors, the double doors, I, I didn't really, I was so deep into the conversation, I didn't even hear what she said. But the Irish dude said, "Man, what the hell was that about?" I'm like, "Damn, what'd she say?" She said, "Man, I'm a woman. You're supposed to open the door for a goddamn woman." And I'm like, "Damn, she said that?" Right? So problems. That started problems in the school, right? And before she could even be reprimanded for that, she ended up quitting and leaving. But man, there's a lot of drama. We had another two other teachers. They were a couple. All right. So the couple, they're gonna do everything together. And the couple, hard headed, emotional, wanted to do things their way, didn't listen to nobody. I've told this story a million times. They ended up going to Singapore thinking that they can renew their visa over there when they were supposed to go to Laos. And they didn't do what they were supposed to. And just like what you see now, everybody getting kicked out of Thailand, coming in and out, entering into Thailand and leaving, just um re-entering so many times on a tourist visa. That's what they did instead of going allowed like they were supposed to. So they they uh they they ended up getting banned, kicked out of Thailand, and all their stuff was still there in the apartment in Thailand. So I think it was gone for like 2-3 months. So when somebody doesn't show up because they're sick, they got to get somebody to cover their classes. It's going to be another teacher there. So you're going to have extra classes. Man, these two, they're teaching the same classes because each class is split. So let's say you're teaching 210, right? Two teachers are teaching class 210. Everybody with an even number ID numbers, they're on one side. Everybody teaching odd number ID numbers, they're in the other class. But two people are teaching one class at the same time in two different classrooms, if that makes sense. So when two teachers are gone, everybody has to cover for their class. And guess what? Let's say somebody has to go to immigration, right? So that's three teachers gone, and everybody has to cover for three teachers. You're teaching nonstop all day. Do you get paid for each class? Yes, you get paid pennies to teach each class, right? You get paid pennies to cover for their classes. So instead of $1,000 that month, you might see $1,200 that month. Is it really worth it? And if you're seeing $200 extra on your check from covering classes, you taught a lot of classes because I think you get paid like $6 per class that you teach. So if you cover 10 classes in a week, which is a lot, you're only getting $60. You- Covering 10 classes in a week, that's a lot. That means you have no breaks. You got to deal with kids and their behavior all day, right? You did all that for $200 extra. It's not worth it. All right. I would never advise anybody to teach. If you're gonna go to Thailand, be a tourist, be a student, or be an entrepreneur, or if you're gonna get a job that's gonna pay you close to $3,000 a month, right? That's not teaching. Get a job that's gonna pay you like 3 grand a month. If they're not paying you that much, just visit, right? Just visit because give it about 6 months to a year. Give it like 6 months to a year of you teaching and living in Thailand. It's gonna get to a point where you're just gonna criticize everything about that country. You're gonna grow to resent living there. But to pack up and leave and move and to come back, that's the thing. Once you stay in a country too long, you've been away for so long, people are scared to come back. Like you're scared, you're afraid. It's like because you've been paying attention to the news in America for so long, and the news is like it shows every negative thing that's going on. So that puts fear in people to prevent them from coming back. I knew people that said, "Man, I would, yeah, I'm only making this much, and yeah, I'm only making this much. I live in a tiny apartment or whatever, but still, I'll never go back to America." Right? But they're complaining about everything that's going on in their home country that they're living in. They have visa issues, you know, you know, they don't like their job anymore. They're not getting paid that much. Now after the first year of being there, it seemed like they can't find a girlfriend anymore. Their first year, they were doing just fine with the ladies. Then after the first year, now it seems like they're not getting the same level of cooperation with the ladies. They don't like it. So, man, I'm telling you, leave, leave Thailand alone if you're trying to come over to Thailand and teach English. All right. Now, if you can find some job where they're gonna pay you 3 grand a month, do it. Other than that, $1,000 a month, don't do it. Let me tell you, some people, especially the people that say, "Man, why would I move back?" These are the main people on TikTok because they're seeing they're seeing enough money that can keep them in the country long enough. But here's the thing: you hanging your hat on TikTok too long, TikTok can change, right? Just like how Facebook has changed. There are people who are making money on Facebook that's not making money on Facebook anymore because as Facebook grows and their policies change, they start regulating what's being shown and said on Facebook to the point where they demonetize people who think they can make money and just say whatever it is that they want on Facebook or make any kind of videos on Facebook. If you making stuff that's harmless, but they'll flag anything and everything. Then people went over to Instagram. They started seeing some money over there. Then you've heard people say, hey, after a while, I wasn't allowed to monetize my videos anymore. Instagram wasn't paying anymore. Then they move over to YouTube. Then they get demonetized over there. Then they move over to TikTok, start making money. Then they start demonetizing people over there. Seem like when a platform is new, it's like they pay money and they pay more than other platforms just to get people to go over there and create content. Once they have enough people, that's when they cut people off. Like, hey, we're not paying anymore. So if you're hanging your hat on TikTok, I'm not against content creators, but you need to have more than one stream of income. If being a teacher ain't it. It's not it. I'm telling you. It is not it. Because you're going to look up 5 years down the line, and then when you had enough of teaching English in Thailand, instead of going back home and restarting, what do? They go to another country. They'll go to Taiwan. They'll go to China. And in these places like Taiwan, you have to have a teacher's license to teach in a public school. If you don't get that license, you got to teach at cram schools. And when you teach at cram schools, yeah, they pay more money. They pay a lot more money, but guess what? Now you have to, your job is to keep the kids happy when that wasn't your job in Thailand because it's a government school. There was no communication between you and the parents at a school in Thailand. Now you have direct communication with the parents at a cram school, and you got to keep the kids happy. If you don't keep them happy, if they don't like you, they're going to tell the parents. Then the parents are going to tell the school, and the school is going to have a meeting with you like, hey, do your job to make them happy. Like, I play games, I do this, I give them points so that they can get prizes. What do you mean? Uh, well, do something. What do you mean do something? I don't know. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but do something. Do something to make them happier because they're not happy. It's not my job to make them happy. It's my job to teach English. Everybody's not gonna like me, right? But here's the thing: these cram schools, they're privately owned. So, you know, if you get with the bigger cram schools in Taiwan, you get paid less, but um you have less drama coming from the parents. You're still going to have some sort of level of communication with the parents, some concern with certain students and stuff like that, but it's a foreign owned cram school, cram school. Does that make sense? So in Taiwan, there's a chain of cram schools called American Eagle. American Eagle, it's you could tell like I'm pretty sure a foreigner. There's a team of foreigners that do own it, but I'm pretty sure it's owned side by side, 50 with a foreigner and a Taiwanese person. I can guarantee it. But the foreigners have more of an influence. So the foreigners tell the parents, like, hey, this is how things go. If you don't like it, man, you could take them someplace else. You could take them to another cram school, a cram school that's owned by somebody Taiwanese. But here's the thing: it's cheaper to send your kids to a cram school owned by Taiwanese. But since the owner is Taiwanese, then the parents have more say so over how things go at a cram school because the parents are Taiwanese, the owner's Taiwanese. So a parent could go to the owner of the cram school and be like, "Hey, look, if you don't get rid of this teacher, I'm taking my kid out." For what? Well, my kid doesn't like his beard, doesn't like his mustache. Do something about it. It'll be ridiculous, right? And the owners, they'll feel pressure. Whereas, like, if you're taking your kid to a Western cram school, you know, the staff is foreign. The staff, they either British or they're American, and they're telling the parents, like, hey man, fall back. You brought them over here to us. This is how things go. You don't like it? We're showing you, we've showed you proof of how kids can improve through our program, right? You could take them to some Taiwanese cram school and you could put them in there, have them there for years and years and years, and they barely know anything by the time they reach 18 because they're not paying attention. But over here, we have a program that works, we make it fun. You know, I'm going on and on, right? But that's what happens in Thailand. They get tired of being there. They hyper criticize everything after a while. Things wasn't how it used to be year one. Now, year five, they're like, I'm tired of Thailand. I'm tired of the immigration process. I'm tired of everything. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go someplace to make more money. They go someplace to make more money. The same thing, same issues occur. Wow, this is nicer. This is better. This is that and a third. Okay, I'm having issues with accommodation, but oh well, I'm making more money. You're making more money. Now you got issues with the school and how they want you to do things. Now they want you to, right? Whereas like you made less money in Thailand in a classroom with students and you never had to deal with the parents, right? Now you got to deal with the parents. You're getting paid more money, but you got to deal with students, their feelings. You got to keep them happy. You don't keep them happy, they're going to tell the parents. Then when they tell the parents, they're going to tell the school. Then the school is going to put pressure on you. Then the parents are going to show up and put pressure on you. Then the school wants to make a decision like, I should fire you, but I can't because if I do, then I got to pay you out the rest of your contract. And then I got to hire somebody else. And that's not within my budget. So please be nice and do this, that, and the third for these kids. Don't quit, but just do what they ask you to do and this and the third. There's nothing you can do to make them happy. So they take their kids out. The school got to deal with it. So at the end of the contract, what happens? The school says, we're not going to renew your contract. And then every single year, you're having to look for a new school to go to. You're looking for a new job every single year. You're getting paid more, but you're running out of schools to work at, all because somebody don't like how you look, somebody doesn't like your teaching style, somebody doesn't like your beard, somebody doesn't like your hair, somebody doesn't like the color of your skin. It's always something. Whereas none of that mattered in Thailand. It's, hey, it's a government school, it's free for the parents. Go to the school, do what you're supposed to do, come back home, whatever, but you're only getting paid $1,000 a month. I'm not living like that. Y'all can have it. When I pull up to Thailand, look, man, I'm at the Peninsula Hotel, chilling. I'm at the Peninsula Hotel. I'm posted up. I'm eating at steakhouses, right? I'm riding boats on Chai Phraya River, right? We're getting premium tickets. We're booking beds at the theater. We're at the movie theater. We're booking beds. We're laid out on the bed at the movie theater. We get nachos and liquor and steak delivered to us in the movie theater. That's what we doing. So it's just better to be a tourist in Thailand than to try to live there and be an English teacher. But hey, if that's what you want to do, be my guest. But I wouldn't do it. Anyways, I'm over and I'm out. You guys be safe. Peace.